I'm not sure why or where it comes from, but I really like driving. Now, that's not common or an easy thing to say when you live in California. I mean, driving for us is often really different than it is for most throughout the US. I mean, on the one hand, it's the absolute lack of transportation infrastructure here that we have. We basically have to drive everywhere. And as a result, there are tons and tons of cars here. And our famous traffic, well, it's famous for a reason. And yet everyone drives fast here, like Mario Andretti fast. So, with all that, plus the fact that I commute 60 miles each way each day to work, you'd think that driving's the last thing that I want to do. However, when it came just last week to driving our oldest child to college, I was unmovable in my insistence to Helen that we had to road trip our son to college. After all, I reasoned, it's tradition. You road trip your kid to college. It's just how it's done. Well, in the old days, when you were going to make a 1,500-mile drive to Texas, you'd break out your multi-fold map and you try to conjure up a route that made sense. And well, I guess fortunately, really over the past 20 years or so, the prolific availability of satellite technology, it's allowed us to shed our maps and our Thomas Brothers Maps books. Well, that is, other than for the various and sundry diehards. That is, we just got rid of Helen's Thomas Brothers map book a couple of years ago. I think it was dated around the mid 1990s. Well, the navigation capabilities we have today, though, by tapping into the GPS or the Global Positioning System, well, they've saved many of us from getting lost and have helped us find real time routes efficiently traversing away from traffic snags. And GPS, well, it can accomplish this because, well, one, it sits with a viewpoint above our own viewpoint. Two, it sees what we can't see, such as hazards and incidents and things that can slow us down or harm us that we should avoid. Three, it knows our destination. And four, it can best discern the way for us to get where we're supposed to go. Well, through my recent reading in the Bible, this theme came to my mind and was a bit unshakable as I read through some of the history of the Israelites. It seems to me that the Israelites, well, they were suffering from GPS related issues. And by the way, of Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 18 to 20, let me explain. And let me read it to you. It says, "What good is an idol carved by man, or a cast image that deceives you? How foolish to trust in your own creation, a God that can't even talk. What sorrow awaits you who say to wooden idols, 'Wake up and save us.' To speechless stone images you say, 'Rise up and teach us.' Can an idol tell you what to do? They may be overlaid with gold and silver, but they're lifeless inside. But the Lord is in his holy temple, and let all the earth be silent before him." The prophet Habakkuk is conveying a message from God that God spoke through a number of his messengers at this time. You see, the Israelites, the very people who were direct recipients of God's directions, had deviated not just once, but time and time and time again. That is, they had a GPS, a God positioning system, that laid out quite specifically the route that they should take as a people. And just like our modern day global positioning system for the purpose of navigating us on a travel journey, the Israelites had, and we have today, a God positioning system to navigate us on the journey of life. And in a similar way, our GPS, our God positioning system, can save us from getting lost, and it can help us find a real-time route efficiently traversing away from snags. Why? Well, because our God positioning system, one, sits with a viewpoint above our own viewpoint. Two, it can see what we can't see, such as hazards and incidents and things that can slow us down or harm us and that we should avoid. Three, it knows our destination. And four, it can discern the best way to get us where we're supposed to go. Now, be that as it may, but just like our navigation systems today, they're only as good as the degree to which we place our trust in them and abide by their directions. I mean, they don't force us to follow their directions. We can choose to listen or we can choose to ignore them. And if we ignore them, they'll switch to calculating route. But in the meantime, we are subject to the consequences. We might get lost, we might find ourselves in dangerous neighborhoods, might extend the time to our destination, we'll get frustrated and maybe even be afraid. All because we chose not to rely on the GPS. See, the Israelites, they were suffering the same fate at the time of Habakkuk. They had direct commandments and loving involvement of their GPS, their God positioning system. And not only did they not adhere to the GPS, not only did they choose instead a stagnant paper map, but they actually decided they would write their own map. Now imagine if you or I decided to go on a long journey across the US, and instead of relying on our GPS, we chose instead to create our own map. Look, no one in their right mind would do that for a road trip. Yet the Israelites decided, and let's face it, you and I routinely decide today to do the precise life equivalent of that. We try to write our own maps. The Israelites, well, they suffered incalculable consequences from the instruments of God through the Babylonians and the Assyrians and myriad others. And we place ourselves in no less perilous situations when we ignore our GPS as well. It's no surprise that life is often metaphorically compared to a journey, a road trip, if you will. And available to you and me is the ultimate GPS, the God positioning system, to help ensure that our route is optimal. But just like we have to choose to pay attention and to receive and adhere to the directions of our navigational GPS, if we want to have the most efficient, safe, fruitful, productive, and enjoyable life journey, we need to pay attention to receive, to adhere to the directions of our life's GPS, our God positioning system. Because as the creator of the universe and everything in it, he alone, one, sits with a viewpoint above our own viewpoint. Two, sees what we can't see, such as hazards and incidents, things that can slow us down or harm us and that we should avoid. And three, he knows our destination. Four, he best can discern the best way to get where we're supposed to go. All we have to do, well, just follow the directions by his word, his spirit, and often through his people. And to that I say, Soli Deo Gloria. God bless.